So if you ever wondered at what point in the MVP program do we really start focusing on throwing hard and promoting the velocity aspect of what we do? And the answer is we start to really do that as part of MVP AAA. Now, what happens with that is we really want to see you go through the program before we're going to start to ask to load you up. And there's a lot of reasons to that. It doesn't mean that we can't have those conversations or ask your body to do more before you get to MVP AAA, okay? But what we're doing essentially is always building the foundation of how to properly sequence and move. And then once you prove that you can do that, and then you prove that you can get on time, then we start having the body, the drills, and the program to say, here we go, okay? So we've had players that go through it, and sometimes the rate at which you get to this MVP AAA is obviously dependent upon you, okay? And as you progress and you get older and the velocity starts to become a very big part of what we're doing, we want to basically fulfill that for you. And we don't want to kind of skip ahead because we're really focused on making sure we go about it the right way, in the safe way. But we do enjoy seeing our clients really progress and get into this phase of the program. And one of the things that is kind of a preview, if you're watching this video, is after you've had all this information on your ankle drives, right? And you know how to move your back leg. Well, what starts to happen is if you do that properly, I'm going to kind of turn here. If I start to do this, and then I get into this glute, and you really say, okay, I can move forward well now, but I want to start engaging and applying more force into the ground, creating that longer load, that longer stretch. Well, what happens is, when the ankle goes and the knee goes, these two joints should basically stay in the same relative position as they move towards home plate, but you should see this hip push backwards here, and I'm engaging and applying force through the glute. So my trunk, in turn, is going to really start to go into this flexion or a hinge to do it, okay? So in our statistics, the #1 producer of increased velocity in the program is whether you can go from like that 2 in the posture to a 4, okay? And so if I do that, that's going to be the biggest increase in your velo, okay? So what it looks like is if I'm not using my body at all and I'm like really stiff as a board, look how this looks. See how my trunk basically stayed in neutral. There was none of this whatsoever in the throw. Well, if I really want to get after it, it starts to look like this. But by the time I hit into foot strike, you can see here again, I got to get back up to a neutral, and I kind of want to get back to extension too. Or we don't necessarily teach it here, but we can work with you. If I wanted to be like a sidearm guy, I could still get low and apply that power. I can still be on time. My angle of force is different, okay? But that's where, from the side, if I want to throw fairly easy, it may look like this, and I want to start to get after it, it looks like that, okay? And that's where we can really start to feel our body work differently, and that requires a lot, because we're asking your obliques, your core, your hip flexors to really engage to keep your body there to allow the back leg to do a really big job, okay? And ultimately, we're trying to do that big angle of our back leg and all that force as we stay back, and once we start to do it, we just let that pelvis turn when it needs to, and boy, we'll be really stretched, and then it just goes, okay? So that's kind of how it starts to work, and how we can naturally apply force using our body and using our leverage to help us do it to the best of our ability, okay? So this is kind of a preview of how we're getting you there to throw harder and harder, and once you get there, then we can say, okay, well, in our strength and conditioning program, in our mobility program, how can we get more out of the body to continue to facilitate further gains? I hope this helps. Thank you.